Planet Tech V5 is almost here, but it sounds like it's not going to be coming until next year. This is a look at some of the improvements coming to planets, particularly they're starting with Nix 1. Let's jump into it and we'll talk through.
At Cloud Imperium Games, we believe art inspires the best technology. And through the development of that technology, it pushes us to create even better art. When Genesis comes to the persistent universe starting next year, it will change how you experience every world. And not just in the building of the new planets for the Nix system. We will also go back through Stanton and Pyro and reimagine them through the lens of our technology. Previously, and more traditionally, we'd create slices of biomes, like deserts or forests. This approach moved us forwards and got us this far, but solving the scale was always tricky. And for Star Citizen, we like to do scale on another level. Issues like seeing tiling from our height maps from high altitude, or the unpredictable blending when two biomes connected, were common. But ultimately, things just never felt right. Our worlds were gorgeous, but to us, they still sometimes felt like interpretations. Now this was a super hard problem, which we needed to solve at the scale for Star Citizen requires. We challenged ourselves to emulate nature in the most believable way, and not just on a planetary scale, but to our level of detail.
Ian Leyland.
With Genesis, we've made a complete paradigm shift to how we do things. Biomes are now created based on the physical data sets.
Brother, this is an incredible freaking scene. Like, the grass looks incredible. I hope it does look like that when we get it.
Biomes are now created based on the physical data sets, with the assets being spawned whenever and wherever the correct criteria is found. So when you see a forest or a meadow, it's no longer because an artist painstakingly crafted it there. It's now because it simply wants to be there. It fits inside our rules.
I wonder how much of the machine learning has been used for this. They mentioned, I think 2 years ago now, that they wanted to use machine learning using data from Earth topography and Luna topography, I believe, to better develop these planets in the way that he's saying. It sounds like it's still taking them a while to do it, so I'm guessing the system itself doesn't take care of a lot of the work on its own. But I do wonder how far they've gotten with that.
This also ties into our other gameplay systems. Our new planets are built from the information we create for our different datasets, like height maps, humidity, temperature, soil type, soil amounts, geology erosion data, to name but a few.
Cows.
This means
He didn't mention the freaking cows.
Tell where to find valuable minerals as the geology looks like it would be suitable for it. Where scree piles exist below sheer cliff faces, and where rocks have broken off over time due to erosion. Of course, these new tools still give us the ability to direct the look and feel we want.
Dude, this biome slaps. This is the most alien thing they've made in this game so far. Good for them. I'm glad they finally are getting some flora that looks properly gross. This is sick.
Of course, these new tools still give us the ability to direct the look and feel we want. The attention to detail from the tallest mountain to the smallest flower is still our core DNA.
Like, this place looks miserable to be in, which is nice. I haven't felt like these planets have really had much of... They're great, they're amazing, they have different biomes and stuff, but the grossest biome we've had so far has been like the trash biome on Hurston, and that's just a bunch of metal and stuff. It feels like I'm actually going to hate coming here, which is kind of a good thing. It makes the mission something I want to get done with quicker, which can complicate how it plays out. Yeah, maybe we have to harvest these
keep that
Freaking gas ball sacks.
detail-oriented mindset as we focus on the quality, and it provides the quantity.
Thank you very much.
Genesis provides our planets with the ultimate sense of exploration and adventure, discovery in the purest emotional form. We want you to find that perfect place, with the planets providing an abundant resource to harvest. This is a major part of what exploration is for us.
I'll take him saying it's a major part. Finding the resources is a major part. That's a really important thing to have in there. So I'll give him that.
We want that feeling of finding a corner of the universe that you'll fall in love with, and where you want to settle down and build your home. Now I'm going to hand you over to Will to go deeper into what we have built that allows Genesis to realize our vision. As a reminder, some of the visuals you'll see will evolve and change as we continue our technological development and hone in on the final look for Nyx.
Thanks, Ian. So, in case it's not already clear, Genesis is our name for a group of technologies that are improving our ability to build worlds, refining those that we've already created, and ultimately expanding our persistent universe to the scale and quality that we all expect. I work on planet tech, so let's talk about how that's continued to evolve since our presentation last year.
Planet
And
guy.
instead of just highlighting some really cool biomes that we can create,
It's going to get to the point where we're just calling Will Captain Planet.
let's go ahead and show how all this work applies to the upcoming planets of Nyx. So there are 3 planets in Nyx. Nyx 3 is a gas giant, and I think it's blue. It's not going to surface. I don't really know. Nyx 2 is a yellow, toxic. It's got like this high pressure atmosphere, and it's like a very volatile planet with high risk reward gameplay. It's going to have some really interesting biomes for you to discover, but for now, just know it's going to be dangerous, because today we're going to focus on what we consider to be the hero planet of this system.
The hero! The change up here. They didn't spend much time explaining why this is no longer a derelict ball. At least I don't think they did. Let's see.
Nyx 1 has got a rugged, remote beauty. It's got a diverse set of biomes, from weathered rocky mountain ranges to vast sweeping forests and grasslands,
Brother!
and from damp, expansive wetlands to claustrophobic, festering swamps.
Dude.
These core biome concepts give us a fantastic platform to hone our technology, in some cases because the current tech couldn't do them at all, or because we want to completely step up our game for them. So,
We literally just earlier this stream watched the old fire re-entrance visuals. It looks so much better now. Obviously it should, but that's a huge contrast.
Let's approach this planet in much the same way that you, the player, will, from orbit. The orbit appearance of the planets going forward is far more tied to what is present on the surface. Previously, we had different data that drove the orbital and ground coloring. That's because the orbit was designed to look like vegetation that we'd place on the surface, and the ground coloring was trying to be a mix of soil, rock, and the organic compound coloring that forms the kind of colors there.
I want to be clear with my expectations, at least. I do not think that everyone lives on Delamar. I just don't think they told us about the outposts here. If you listen to what they specifically say that Delamar Levski is the first social area they're adding in Nyx, but it is not the only one. I think there will be outposts on this planet. I think there will be other space station with people living on it. Levski is just the center of the system, mainly because it has all the industry, and it has been that center location for a long time because of the measure regime. So I wouldn't expect this to be a barren, perfect planet that you can go to and there's not going to be anything there. There will be conflict going on here, probably. There will be things to find, and there probably will be people.
Coloring that forms the kind of colors there. Now
the new fire might look more jank. I personally think it looks great. But the key difference here is that this fire, this is a system. This will change direction based on which way your ship is facing. If you flip your ship around and keep flying through atmosphere, the fire will calibrate and it will fly backwards on you. With that old sprite we were watching with the re-entry, I don't have it up. That was literally a sprite. If you flipped your ship around and kept flying at that same speed, it would show the fire on the front of your ship facing backwards. It wouldn't make sense. So it's not just the graphics here of why this fire is better. It's the fact that it actually conforms to the ship and works.
The ground coloring was trying to be a mix of soil, rock, and the organic compound coloring that forms the kind of colors there. Now we author much more of the data in a unified way. When you look at Earth, you see blues and greens for ocean and vegetation, and brown or yellowy tones for sand and soil. We wanted to keep it as simple as that. The same set of textures and data that define the color of the soil, sand, and rock on the ground are used to create the orbital look.
Another thing, I'm sorry. The lore reason for not using the planets was that the Mesa regime would have kind of killed them and wiped them out if they were in a easy to get to place, I guess.
We then assess the presence of vegetation and competition between different species on each part of the planet and use that to blend in tones of green, including variations due to species health and the current season. This creates a far more complete image and allows you to identify features, geologies, and potential points of interest all the way from space.
Yeah, so they have talked about this. Last year they were mentioning this would be how it was, and really this is not much of a big update from last year in terms of what they want to do. Last year is kind of like they showed us a showcase of the things they want to make. This year they're showing us the planet, the sort of test case where they're actually going to do it. So yeah, a lot of this is repeats of what we've already heard. It's just now being applied to an actual planet.
Let's go down to the surface and start with something closer to what you're used to, but in a whole new light. When we approached the surface of the planet, we wanted to start by focusing on just the soil and rock. One of the things that was missing from our terrain previously was simply feature complexity. Looking at our contemporaries, we lacked detail at the ground scale. To combat this, we've added a new layer of data. That layer is called the medium tiles.
Okay, I kid you not, dude. I'm watching this happen and I'm like, is this just a black bar going over the page? I freaking can't see the difference. Let me try this.
That layer is called the medium tiles.
Okay, I kind of see it now. There's like a little bit of it, like the detail goes away a little bit when the medium tiles are on, and it gets a little less contrasty. It's like a lot less jitter in the detail of the rocks, I guess, is what I'm seeing.
These are intelligently placed on top of the existing 4-kilometer terrain tiles based on slope, soil type, and other erosion data. And these medium tiles don't just create height changes, they also bring in local erosion data both for soil and bedrock size values.
Okay, so in this screen, they are changing height map data and erosion data. So yeah, I could definitely see how the erosion is different. I guess it takes away some of that detail because it's simply becoming more accurate. It's not necessarily becoming more detailed. It's becoming more realistic based on what the data in that area would be. Interesting.
These are intelligently placed on top of the existing 4-kilometer terrain tiles based on slope, soil type, and other erosion data.
Soil type
and
as well,
these
yeah.
medium tiles don't just create height changes, they also bring in local erosion data both for soil and bedrock size values. And this gives us a whole new level of terrain detail, of scale, and allows us to create far more unique locations across the planet. So now that we've nailed the surface, let's have a look at adding some rocks. We've now got two major
Everybody starts screaming. He said rocks, oh my god, no!
contributors to the rock content of our
Wait, I've got the perfect one for this.
planets. Firstly, long desired feature, cliffs.
Yeah.
We are adding large scale, very detailed to all our cliffs based on the geology of a given location.
Hell
This
yeah,
adds
dude.
an exciting new dimension to steep slopes that we simply couldn't get before.
This is literally a problem they've been dealing with trying to figure out since the like beginning of time, I want to say. Like since Jesus's days, they've been trying to get Cliffs to work in this goddamn game engine. We could probably fly back to like around the verse in 2018 and find them talking about how difficult it is to make vertical surfaces and how they're trying to make canyons and riverbeds, and it's not quite working out the way that they wanted to. Let's see. I'm not going to take too long on this. So this is, yeah, here we go. This is what I was looking for.
You may have noticed the work of our environment art team to improve the ways we can better scale the natural features of our planets and moons by exploring the limits of our existing tech, shown here in recent tests on canyons. This is super exciting because while Star Citizen is often about exploring new and experimental technologies, it can be just as important to continue iterating on the tools we've already created to make them both as efficient and capable as they can be. It's just one more way to make sure we're getting the most out of every development milestone possible.
Sorry, there was like multiple music tracks there, but you got the idea. That was 2019. They were working on that. Here's 2022. They were working on Cliffs. They just really struggled to get these going. Even as they told us about these advancements, like they would walk us through how this all worked.
The scale,
and they would regularly tell us
like
about how it was just not possible to make a huge vertical differential between two locations because of the way that this tech worked.
Right? And change the entire biome and object scattering that we have on this specific area. And yeah, this is how we go about the creation of height maps. Basically, these procedures, these workflows, going back and forth, validating in substance,
It really made for a bad graphical experience when you would try and stretch the ground over a vertical distance change if the system couldn't handle it. And because CryEngine obviously was not really made to render full planets, it wasn't like they were trying to make huge cliff sides and peaking mountains. So they've had to figure it out themselves, but I'm glad they did because this looks great.
Very detailed to all our cliffs based on the geology at a given location. This adds an exciting new dimension to steep slopes that we simply couldn't get before. The second is a big one for you ground vehicle enthusiasts. Rocks are now found not scattered everywhere, like spilt popcorn at the cinema, but only in places you'd expect to find them, thanks to a brand new rock scattering algorithm that isn't annoying as hell. Using physical data generated for each large and medium tile, now rock distribution makes sense and has a physical basis.
So I'm going to be doing all my driving down here. Not going anywhere near these mountains.
So if you're still crashing into them after this comes out, that's on you.
Okay, see now, look at this. Doesn't that look like a mineable? That looks like a way better integrated mineable than what we normally get. I'm not trying to read too much into it, but listen to these next words they says.
The rock assets themselves have had a glow up too. We now create rock sets related to a particular geology that look like they originated from the same source. And this ties into how we'll be distributing minables in much more interesting ways too.
So like, he says that, we see these different rocks. They also mention that there are going to be updates to mining with the addition of Nyx. And oh man, like, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry, pull me away from the edge, please. I'm gonna fall into the copium abyss. Guys, mining could take some big steps up here. I feel like this Planet Tech update is going to have something pretty good mining related included.
So now that our base terrain and rock scattering looks good, let's add some vegetations and explore
it's right there. Feels like
additional biomes. Nyx One's forests and grasslands are full of trees, various grass species, rock formations, and they're found in all sorts of elevations like mountain valleys, open plains, and dense meadows.
That is really cool, the way that the trees are sticking to the certain conditions that they grow in. Very, very cool.
And when we start to add a bit of fresh water, they begin transitioning into more wetland-type biomes. And while forests are super cool, let's focus on the grasslands and wetlands today. So, how are we making these look so great? Obviously, we've had grass before, but never meadows of it. Because until now, we haven't been able to spawn grass in large enough quantities or effectively represented at distance. So we're stepping up our game in terms of spawning, shaping, and shading grass. With Genesis, we now leverage GPU spawning to create vast quantities of assets across all biomes, whether it be dense meadows or more complex collections of ground cover like you can see in these wetlands. We are
Those trees
also
look
able to fit
fantastic.
our grass tiles to the ground by conforming them to the unique terrain underneath. Now we can finally cover complex terrain shapes with grass and ground cover assets, and as a result they are now gravity aligned, meaning each blade is oriented as you'd expect and not sticking out like before.
Grass Citizen. This is the best part of the whole presentation right here. Watch this next video clip and tell me this isn't the most satisfying vehicle movement you've ever seen in Star Citizen. No rocks, no bouncing
Next,
around, no
let's
tumbling,
take a look at how
nothing.
we
Just
light our
gripping the
grass.
ground, just driving, just rolling through the grass, dude. Give me this. Give me
Next,
this.
Let's take a look at how we light our grass. Now, as in real life, the shading of a grass blade, or indeed a whole field of grass, is lit very differently to like a flat surface. We now use a solution that shades meadows of grass far more like fur or hair. And this, if you think about it, makes sense. At a distance, a field of grass is far more like a carpet or
Yes, I see multiple people asking in chat. This planet was uninhabitable before. It is no longer uninhabitable.
cloth than a flat surface. This improves how our grass looks from a near perspective, as well as bringing us nicely into how we're solving the distant representation of grass. So let's talk about the distance problem. One of our biggest achievements with Genesis is allowing us to build beautiful biomes out of flora and geology assets like a building set.
Where is that guy even going?
Can I say Lego?
No.
Too late. But in the past, this broke down very quickly when objects simply disappeared when viewing the same biome from 10, 20, 100 kilometers away. Because we don't hide planetary transitions and allow you to view complex regions from very large distances, there are almost infinite perspectives from which you can see a location in Star Citizen. So, how can we afford to evaluate complex spawning logic at runtime for the entire swathes of the planet? Enter the virtual terrain. Virtual terrain, or VT for short, is how we now cache and represent our terrain at varying scales.
For reference, previously, their tiling system for this was their height map tiling system. They would basically have these tiles and they would mix and match them and make different sets all across a planet's surface. It looks like they have a system that allows them to kind of maybe resize or re-optimize themselves based on distance.
This has been the enabler for all of the lovely advances in terrain complexity and asset spawning we've shown so far. And it's also how we now evaluate and represent vegetation from a distance. When creating
Similar to the water
VT
system,
for
yeah.
each part of the terrain, we assess if vegetation has covered the ground, and if so, what shading should be applied. For all of our biomes, we're now able to use the same shading model for the distant representation as the close-up asset, whether that's our lovely rolling hills, some more dramatic rockscapes, those muggy wetlands, or even our festering swamps. So yeah, we didn't forget about the swamps, and they're coming to next one as well. Built using the lessons learned and all the technologies we've developed, these swamps now spring into existence from the planetary data. This biome combines all of the elements from the other biomes we've shown you today, from water interaction, denser spawning, unique ground coverage, and I think it creates something really unique. Anyway, that's our update. on the Planet Tech portion of Genesis and how we're using it right now to sculpt the identity of NIX1. And I hope you're as excited as we are to explore this and everything we haven't shared yet next year.
So that's Planet Tech. And like
As you
you
can
said,
see,
that's
Genesis is now inspiring everyone here to create planets of the quality and believability we've always strived for.
it's an interesting little feature. It looks almost like a gigantic gash in the planet right here, possibly. And it does look like the clouds are forming around the mountains in it too. So this might be an actual planetary feature they're just not talking about. So yeah, that's the Planet Tech so far. That's the Genesis update we're getting. Remember, if you go back to last year's CitizenCon, there are plenty of parts to Genesis. This is just the first one. So this is phase 1. They're giving us all these sorts of things they talk about, like
as we're approaching,
the virtual texturing, the GPU scattering, the new biomes like swamps.
We were also pleasantly surprised when we first saw the drives with the amount of sunlight and rain that's
Like, this was just a showcase of the stuff they were thinking they wanted to do because of the improvements they were getting, but now we're seeing how it's actually applied on NIX1. Tiling was also a part of this. So this is all part 1. This does not include part 2, which is like Starchitect and points of interest. Part 3, which is a lot of AI stuff and how they change with the environment. Part 4, which was global illumination, ray tracing, stuff like that. Part 5 is star audio, so Doppler effects, sounds, and things that change based on distance.
Power up. I need to get some proper placement in. So there's one more example for you. Threat. It's not.
Flybys, explosions, sound waves.
One more.
And then finally, dynamic weather fronts.
And seeing the light shafts peer through the layers. Now, as this is closing in, we can start to see the changes in visibility of the area. Light precipitation is starting. Previously, we authored static cloud shapes, but no longer. We didn't manually place a volume here. Its presence has been informed by Genesis data. Oh, and it's not just a cloud volume. It's a weather front.
So all this stuff is all part of Genesis, but we're only seeing part 1 with NIX1. So there's still a lot more work to do on Planet Tech V5, and we will be seeing them talk about that more, I'm sure, at next year's CitizenCon, possibly throughout next year as well. And that team's just always getting ahead. They're always moving forward, and as they probably detail and build Castra, they'll probably work in some more of those changes and so on and so forth. But this is Genesis Part 1, NIX1. Obviously, it's now habitable when it wasn't before. They've got some splaining to do, but that should be here next year.